right, welcome back to another author interview on the Semi-Sages of the Pages. So my name is Teresa, and I'm here with Evan Baughfman,
Hello.
who wrote Axe Won't Cut for the upcoming anthology Queens in Wonderland. Evan is the author of The Emaciated Man and Bad for Your Teeth. Fantastic author. Please check him out. But his story for Queens in Wonderland is about a unique character that you don't hear from very often.
Yeah.
So, Evan, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, part of what drew me to this, to wanting to write for this opportunity was to see if I could, I guess, write from the perspective of a lesser visited character in the Wonderland universe. So I chose the executioner, the Queen's executioner, the one who's supposed to chop off the heads of those who she doesn't like. So yeah, this story is from the point of view of Gilliam O'Teen or Gil O'Teen, the Queen's head beheader.
hmm Yeah, I loved that about this story so much was we actually have a unique character. And not only unique to this anthology, but also unique to the Wonderland universe too. I went and looked it up because I might be using the executioner just a little bit in my story as well. And I was trying to figure out what card it was, how much of a part this character had, and they really don't have much of a part at
Right.
all in the original story.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that. I too did my research and I like that there wasn't very much known about him. So I can kind of just like make him my own and take some liberties, some narrative liberties. I also took some liberties maybe with a couple other characters from the Wonderland universe, and that was also a fun thing to do was to kind of put my own spin on characters like the Mad Hatter and the Queen. I don't know that I made her all that different than she is in the books, but yeah, kind of
Yeah.
used as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You put a really nice spin on it. I don't want to give too much of away.
Right.
But what spoke to you about becoming a part of this anthology?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I kind of wanted to see if I can get into another one of the No Bad Books anthologies since I've been fortunate enough to be in a couple previous ones.
Yep.
So I'm not sure. Are these the only three open anthologies that you've had?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I'm 3 for 3. And I hope to submit again in the future. So that was part of it. But also just again, this opportunity to kind of like play in this world that Lewis Carroll had created. And then also just like thematically to touch on things like fighting against bigotry, fighting against hatred, um, um, you know, having safe spaces and communities for all people. So yeah,
Oh, I'm so glad you addressed that because I love how the story ends.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm a teacher, and my classroom is a safe space for all students. I live in a community where it's a safe space for all people, and so that is definitely something I wanted to touch on. Unfortunately, that's not the place with everywhere in our country or everywhere in the world. So I kind of thought, what if Wonderland wasn't a welcoming place, and how that might affect these characters and these characters who are searching for safety, and where they ultimately find safety is, I mean, I won't spoil it, but it was something that speaks personally to me. It's a safe space for me, and yeah, I hope people enjoy where this went.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's really brilliant, I think, because it is such a safe place for so many people. So, yeah, but again, I don't want to spoil it either.
Yeah.
So, okay. What did anything kind of challenge you when you were writing this story?
Yeah. As you know, I like writing horror. The books that you mentioned that I've written, The Emaciated Man and Bad Pure Teeth, as well as another novella, Vanishing of the Seventh Grade, they're all horror. Horror is like my my most comforting genre. That's where I write most of my stuff. So I guess the challenge here was like not make it a horror story, although there are some horror elements to it. There's some suspense to it. There's horrors as far as like how certain characters treat others, but I wanted this to be more of a happy story. Whereas a lot of my horror stories kind of end unhappily, I wanted this to be the opposite. So I knew from the onset, like, yeah, these characters would be going through some things that they might be horrific, but in the end, I wanted a happy ending for my main character Gil and others.
Yeah, and that's interesting. As you're talking, I'm realizing how many of our stories in this anthology end with a happy ending.
That's awesome.
And I think that may be part of the magic in this anthology of creating safe places, creating acceptance, celebrating identity, celebrating who people are, uncovering who people are and who they love. Um, and it didn't occur to me until you were talking about how many of these stories just you just finish it and you're like, oh, that was wonderful. Even the sad ones, and there's a handful of sad ones.
Mhm.
Even those you still end with like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I'm looking forward to reading the other stories and being put in a happy place. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I like that one too. All right. So before we get to the reading, where can our listeners or watchers find out more about you?
Yeah. I used to have a website. I don't anymore. So I guess you have to type my name into Google and some information about me will pop up. I do have an author's page on Amazon, which links to all my books and the short stories that I'm sorry, the anthologies that I have short stories in. And then I am also a playwright. So I do have a playwright profile on the website New Play Exchange. So I don't know if anyone here is familiar with that, but like 70 of my plays are on that website to be read if interested. So
Okay. And I'll go ahead. I'll put notes down below too. Ready to do our reading?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna read, I guess, the opening paragraphs of the story. So this is Axe Won't Cut. The queen wanted me to decapitate a charming couple just because they were in love, because they were no longer embracing in the shadows, were no longer a secret, just because the queen had never known true love herself, unless you counted the feeling she got whenever she looked into a mirror, which I did not. Separate them from their skulls, she screamed at me for days. Each time I took a wrong turn in the castle and accidentally came across her spitting red face. Ever since the reports first came in that two of her knaves were walking hand in hand out in the public square. They're so happy, so smiley, somebody had said. They're practically floating. Wingless, but finally flying free. Are you listening, Gilliam? Separate them from their skulls. It was her favorite phrase, one she'd yelled into my ears for many years. It was my job, after all, to execute her wishes, to execute her enemies. Admittedly, the Queen had a rather flimsy and unclear definition of enemy, something akin to anyone or anything that ever disgusted, disappointed, and or wronged her majesty. So basically, everyone and everything could be considered a foe. I was the executioner, because the Queen wasn't strong enough to wield my weapon, to lift it from the wooden block where it often rested. Nobody was. See, I'd become quite the giant once puberty struck. At age 16, I was approached for the job of head beheader after the previous noggin lopper lost his life trying to add a Bandersnatch's snarl to his trophy room wall. I guess that's where I'll stop. So,
Good. Good. It's awesome. It's awesome.
okay.
So that was from Axe Won't Cut. So it's available in Queens and Wonderland, and depending on when you're watching this, it's either available for pre-order or it's available for sale in all of the places. I will have signed copies available at www.nobadbookspress.com. Anything to add?
No, just like I'm excited to have this story out there and hear what people think of it, and thank you for this opportunity to speak about it. So
Oh, thank you. And thank you for coming on the Semi-Sages of the Pages and letting us do a quick interview. So yeah, super, super excited for this anthology.
thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.